Wow. That was intense. Oh my gosh.
Welcome to Dastardly Hamster, where you try to convert each other to our favorite bands. Since Mika liked 3 songs in a row, that means I get to show her a one-off, just something a little bit different, out of left field. We are going to be doing the Final Fantasy VII boss theme, particularly the one used in the remake. This is used for the Airbuster boss, but it's more generally just the boss theme overall. I'm choosing this song because Mika is a metalhead, and this is the most metal boss theme I've ever heard. It's basically like a 7-minute metal solo. I guess this is also something that you normally wouldn't be like hyper focusing on. Like, imagine that you are trying to take down this boss while this music plays in the background. Like, so this is your motivation music, right? To destroy this thing.
Yeah, and I like video game music. I have a lot of respect for it as an art, unto itself. It's even more than just music. It's not trying to just provoke an emotional reaction. It's also trying to provoke a physical reaction of playing better and to bring you into a visual world. So I evaluate it more like I evaluate movie music.
I also want to say that this is orchestrated by a very famous Japanese composer. I might butcher this name, Nobuo Uematsu. He does a lot of music in typically Japanese role-playing games. He deserves credit for all the amazing work that he's created.
And I'm glad that I'm going to also see the video game that it's in.
Right.
Because that will help put me into that world.
I should also say one last thing. This song, the original song, not the 7-minute version, but the simpler version of this song, is actually from 1997. But it was much simpler, like chiptunes back then. So I'm not showing you the chiptune version just because this one is way more badass. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll get a little bit of retro feel in there too.
Yeah.
And I actually considered being a game developer for several years.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I ended up studying robotics instead. With my dumb little side company, I actually created a prototype of a game. I just don't know if I'm ever actually released it. It was fine, but it was just kind of boring. I need to spice it up if it's gonna.
Well, if you want to see Mika's game in the comments, be sure to
yes,
give her a little push.
Comment if you'd like to see my kind of lame Tetris-inspired game. I love how it kind of like held back a little bit. It started out those first little pieces a little bit less intense than I thought it was going to be. Like it was just priming me up. All right, I'm just going to say the word. It was edging a little bit. I love this. Like the whole orchestra is getting their own little moment. I heard some violins in there.
Yeah.
Now we're in the guitar. Okay, this is cool. I love this. I'm totally into sort of orchestral metal.
You're gonna love this thing. It's gonna keep adding things as we go too.
I'm super excited. love how it's like also like not just cycling through instruments, it's cycling through styles, right? So there's like, this very sort of classical, sort of Mozart-y kind of scales. And, like earlier, I felt a very sort of Viking epic. And then there was this sort of like Russian type classical music feel.
Interesting. I didn't hear that part.
And then I felt like we were starting to go in sort of like a Middle Eastern direction.
Hmm.
So I feel like we're globe-trotting with this.
Right.
Song. I'm super into this. I'm loving this. Sometimes if you hear this sort of like fusion, sometimes it just feels like fusion for the sake of fusion. But not this one. Like this is orchestral metal. It's not an orchestra with a guitar thrown in. It was made like this. Now we're in sci-fi music.
This is where it starts to get different from the original. Everything you've heard so far was in the original composition, but everything from here on out is stuff that they have completely changed around.
I love big, heavy drums, but I also love violin.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So that little piece was very nice to me.
Oh, do you like the choir?
Yeah. It actually, it makes me feel, I used to have the soundtrack of Star Wars Episode 1. And now that's 80s video game music.
I don't fully understand all your references, but I'm glad that you are making those connections.
It's like it feels like every type of music ever written.
Oh, okay.
Somehow packed in together into one orchestra with the metal guitar. And now this is like super classical, but also the 80s sound.
I could hear that.
That part sounds a little Matrixy. On the singing, I think it's really, really beautiful. It sounds like the evil music, like a possessed kid or something like that.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. They're like about to like take over the town or something.
I love that. I think it sounds great. one thing that I'm loving so much about this is there's like zero repetition.
Like it
Oh, I
keeps
love it.
doing new things. And now we're getting the full chorus. So before we've always had the like ga do da, right? But now we're getting like the long drawn out chorus, which hasn't happened yet.
You know, there are pieces where like he does something once and I'm like, oh, that sounds like something that's going to repeat. And then he starts repeating it and I feel the little dread starting. And then he does something else and I'm
Yeah.
like, yes.
It's
So
like even if
this,
they go to the familiar, they like switch it up and then they add something or change something to make it different.
that's amazing. That's especially good from a video game perspective because any kind of repetition might annoy people.
Maybe, but at the same time, most video game music is pretty repetitive, and I don't mind at all. Like,
Okay,
I think
yeah,
most people
see?
are fine with it. Like, you probably have the Tetris song in your head, right? Like, you memorize
Oh,
that, right?
100% of the time I
Right.
live with the Tetris song in my head.
And that's super repetitive. No, I think it'd be done. It's just, yeah.
I can feel it increasing. What's gonna happen next? Still not getting there. I feel for the past minute or something, almost getting to like the big breakdown. I think this is finally it. I've just been
Right.
waiting.
Yeah, we're really close.
Let's hear the big finish. That's so interesting. That was guitar, and I'm quite sure violin playing the exact same thing at the same time, which I don't think I've ever heard before. That was something new. Wow. That was intense. Oh my gosh. 5 out of 5. Easy.
Yay!
Wow.
I was almost certain that you would love this. Like it wasn't even a question to me. I'm like, she'll like it. It was like the most guaranteed thing that I could give you.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised and impressed. And
Mm,
yeah, I like video game music, but that was a step above. That was
yeah.
really a masterpiece of classical and metal music. There's just so much going on. There's every instrument,
Yep.
every style of music, every era since the 80s. No repetition, all these sounds that I love, the big deep drums and violin and amazing electric guitar. And I like the choir. There was like, I think like 10 seconds of major key in the whole song, and the rest of it was just like kind of creepy and scary, but so inspirational and motivating at the same
Right.
time. Oh man, I would totally win against the final boss if I'm listening to a song like that,
Right.
right? Because like you gotta be just like pressing until your thumbs fall off. Like,
It's like when you hear that song, you know shit's about to go down.
wow. I thought that was great. Thank you for showing me that song. Totally a song that I could clean to or
Right.
whatever.
Cleaning song. You heard it here first.
I will make the dishes sparkle.
Yeah. The composer did not specialize in metal. He does pretty much every style of music and puts that into the video game. So depending on what's happening on screen at a given time, whether it's, you know, a very intense like battle scene like this, or maybe it's a love scene, or maybe it's, you know, a really sad, depressing scene, right? Like he can do it all. And he's been doing it for decades. So yeah, I just want to give props.
Likewise, I'm going to climb back on my soapbox and talk again about how metal is the modern classical. This was classical music through and through. It just happened to have metal guitar and some modern drumming, but it's all classical composers. They were the metal performers of their time, and this kind of intensity didn't start with metal. It started in the classical era. Well, that's it for us, Hamstars. Spin your wheels down to that subscribe button.
Give us a dastardly thumbs up.